Second guest on the show, the Democratic candidate for Board of Education, Bryan Rivard. Bryan, thanks for coming on the show. Again, a good sport and very brave. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here. Happy for the opportunity.
So we took the liberty of going to your website to pick out a few facts about you. You live on Mansion Road. You went to Cornell University, and you were graduated in 2003 with a B.S. in engineering. You are currently in your 12th year at Pratt & Whitney, and you work there as an engine program manager. You've completed an M.S. in engineering from Rensselaer with an MBA. You got an MBA from Carnegie Mellon. You are married to Anne Marie. You have identical twin girls that are now at Cook Hill School, I believe, in the 2nd grade. And the website says you've been active in the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, the Parent-Teacher Organization, United Way, and Girl Scouts.
That's right.
Okay. So you were here in the studio, and you watched Lou Cherwinski, and saw sort of the format. And we're not going to repeat the format because everyone watching the show watched the first segment. We're going to dive right into that first question, and that had to do with this article in the Atlantic Monthly magazine, and it was entitled, "Don't Help Your Kids with Their Homework, and Other Insights from a Groundbreaking Study of How Parents Impact Children's Academic Achievement." The article is many pages. I just picked out, Ralph, maybe a dozen sentences.
Right.
I'm not sure, but there are a lot of thoughts, a lot of themes. Your thoughts on the article?
Right. So actually, very interesting article. I sort of winced when I first read it because I'm heavily involved in the schools, and I try to be involved with my kids' homework, just like my folks were. I would say a couple takeaways I had. One is I think it's hard to measure what success is. This particular study looked at how students did on test scores in particular, and that may not be, I'll say, demonstrative of someone's downstream success. Success can be measured in a number of ways. The other one, this is probably the engineer in me, but I looked at a number of different sources, went to the original study. One thing that it doesn't really do is it doesn't consider the how parents were engaged, right? So they took the actual numbers of times that parents were engaged, but it doesn't say, hey, were those folks guiding their kids, or were they kind of involved in doing it? And so there's this delicate parent balance that we as parents have, I think, is how much engagement is the right engagement, and then are you teaching or doing, and what is that balance? So I would say, in the long run, I wouldn't take this article to say that we should be changing the level of involvement that we encourage our parents and families to have in our school system. Irrespective of that data, it is true that I think, parental involvement in the schools, getting engaged in the community, can teach good model skills in terms of being a citizen. It demonstrates the love that the parents have for their kids, and I think that all helps with social emotional development. So I wouldn't recommend any significant changes in terms of how we engage with parents based on this, but it was interesting, and I kind of definitely opened up the mind in terms of different thoughts that I had.
Follow up? Let's get to the next.
Okay.
Let's get to the next question.
Okay, I will. Bryan, the typical talking point is that public schools always need to improve. Be more this, that, or the other. Those general platitudes aside, are you reasonably satisfied with the school district's track record and the general trajectory of the board's past policies and approaches? Or do you believe that a specific adjustment in policy or tone is needed? And if you do, please be specific.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. My wife and I are long-term Wallingford residents now, but we were both kind of transplants from the area to the area. And I would say, one of the first things we as a professional, family, we had kids in mind, how are the schools, right? And that's kind of one of the things that landed us here. And I would say that the general trajectory's been good. One of the reasons that I'm interested in running for the board, though, is I think there's a lot of external factors that affect how students graduating from a school system their, I'll say, their long-term position and success. One of them, obviously, is the cost of college. One of them that, I face at my experience at Pratt Whitney is, I'll say, skill development in the vocations and trades. And, one of the interesting things that Wallingford has is the Advanced Manufacturing Certificate Program, the nursing program. I'll call those, direct-to-career opportunities. If I were elected to the board, one of the things I'd want to work with both administration and the board members on is, how can we make the connections both in the student's mind to connect with some of those type of careers as well as the businesses here in Connecticut. It hurts my head if, I'm at work and I hear about the advanced manufacturing job on the shop floor is, going to someone from out of state because we don't have the right skills here. And so I think, partnerships with some of the community colleges are some things that we should kind of relook at. But relative to where we've been, pretty good trajectory. I would also say, because I don't like to, throw everyone who gets into public office, especially Board of Ed, is doing it, I hope, because they love it and they're interested in it. And every one of us as a team would face, I'll say the challenge or issue of the time. And, we can always benefit from 20/20 hindsight, so I'm not going to say that they didn't make any good decisions. I think everybody, did what they thought was best for student success.
In the email that I sent to all the candidates, there was a sort of a collateral thought that went along with this question, and it says, so after the new board is elected, and let's assume you're on it, will things pretty much be the same, pretty much a status quo? Or the same question I asked Lou, did you see one or two things, that came across the news or came across your agendas or came across your meetings that said, man, I wish I was on the Board of Ed. I might have thrown a different perspective on it. What are your thoughts?
One thing as an engineer, we tend to tackle big, complex problems, and we always have to revisit things. So we're in this mode of, I'll call it continuous improvement, where you take a stab at something and you're really looking for the long-term position to try to get a good long-term solution. I can't say anything specific that I would change, but what I would encourage us to do is to, as we make decisions, try to have a retrospective look at things and then assess how we did, and then use those in our strategic planning process going forward. What are the things that we want to maybe adjust along the way? Because it's change in education can be kind of a long-term battle, and that's I think what my approach would be.
A quick answer to the next one, because we are going to run out of time. You mentioned relationship with community college. Just quickly, what was the point there?
Main point there was, I think if we can get some connectivity with some of the schools that are investing in these director career opportunities where we might have gaps in the state, I think that that might be something I'd like to work with the board on more, and have the Wallingford folks connect with that.
We have one question left.
We have one question left.
13 people are running for the Board of Education. 9 will be elected. Why should voters make you one of their choices for the Board of Ed? What distinguishes you from the rest of the pack? What will your presence add to the group formed by the other 8 board members that will be elected to the Board of Ed?
Right. I think folks want 2 things. I think they want diversity of opinion, and as a program director, I have the responsibility of setting a vision with objectives for my engine program, and I also have financial responsibility in managing that. So I have experience on the financial side, as well as working, I'll say, across an organization to try to build consensus towards an appropriate decision. And I think my background you mentioned earlier is probably uniquely suited to help add to the value of the board. I think it's different from a lot of the perspectives that exist there today.
Okay.
We got it?
We got it.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate
the time.
Okay. We got a little more business to
Absolutely.
catch up on, and we're going to get to that in just